Buckle up because this is a big one. You might want to use the chapters to skip around this video. GPT-5 is here. What is it like at coding? I vibe code a web app that uses the XAI API for real-time GPT-5 hype updates. I also attempt to build a 3D pinball game using real physics. And we'll hop into other vibe coding tools that just announced GPT-5 has arrived. I'll also take a quick look at the future of building AI automations. And there's a new buzz Peter Levels introduced this week called VibeOps. We'll take a look at what it is and why it's important to you later in the video. And as if GPT-5, the future of AI automations and VibeOps wasn't enough, OpenAI announced a free and open source model this week that I'm going to download now, and we'll test it on my Mac Studio at the end of this video. But first, the big hype. GPT-5 is here, and it's free, and it's available right now in Cursor. You'll see GPT-5 with free credits for the launch week, over 250,000 tokens. It's a pretty good deal. And if you can't wait long enough, you can always go GPT-5 fast. It's the new way to vibe code. I'd like you to build me a dashboard that tracks in real time how much OpenAI's ChatGPT-5 is being spoken about right now. And it demonstrates it in beautiful rainbow visuals with dopamine-inducing explosions and pops and pows, and also gives real information on what is being said right now about GPT-5. Okay, that is my prompt, and what are we going to use to make this work? We're going to hook it into the real-time Grok 4, which actually has a live search. So what I'm going to do is actually take those docs off the screen, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab some of the API documentation and paste it down below. Use this, I'll say. And we've got that little guide and, of course, the specific guide that I want to let it know on live search so it gets this right. And, wow, this is my first time ever using GPT-5 to vibe code. Let's hit enter and see what happens. Okay, it's planning a real-time aggregator. It's thinking it through. Now, bear in mind, I haven't given it any framework or context on how to build this. I've just said, here's the API that I want to use. Go make something cool. And look at this. It's already thought for nearly 30 seconds and said it's going to scaffold a React front end and an Express back end. I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and allow it to run any commands it wants to run. Okay, this is pretty good. I can see it's now working on those dopamine explosions. It's running another command, and I can see it's inserting an XAPI key variable and also making README files. In fact, it's asking me to run plenty of commands now. Now I can see it's already thinking of final instructions to give to me, the user, and it's just finalizing up these commands. It feels like I've really got a real developer in my back pocket over here. And finally, it's finishing up, and I can see that it knows that I haven't given my XAI API key. In fact, this is going at a rate of knots. These tokens are amazing. So let's make sure that I go in here and put my XAI API key, which I'll generate right here. Paste in, save. Let's go to the URL and wow, the GPT-5 hype radar is off the charts with rainbows, confetti, positive sentiment, keywords here. This is insane, and real live items coming in from the XAI API. This is incredible. Not much negativity, quite a bit of positivity right now. And I've got to say, that was done with just one prompt. Okay, let's continue with the vibe test. I'd like you to make me a game in three.js called Pinball Planets. It will be a pinball machine, but not as we know it. Lots of colors, lots of space and galactic themes, and lots of beautiful planets that I can bounce my ball between. Okay, as before, it's going to work and planning those next moves, and it's already getting to work with the project setup. This is really exciting. It's wasting no time, asking me to execute some commands. Okay, look at this. It seems to be ready. It's given me a URL, so let's click and hit the website. Whoa, okay. We've got something here with flippers, but not quite as we know it. Oh, and 3D physics as well. Make it so that when I tilt and pan around, that the ball moves and falls in the correct direction following physics. And it's planning the next moves. Now, after thinking away for just over 90 seconds, it's doing live tilt controls, and it's actually working on dynamic gravity. Okay, it seems to be done. It says try rotating the camera now. The ball should react immediately. Okay, let's reload the game, and it's going up. But if I tilt a little bit, oh yeah, it's definitely tilting around. Now it's tilting to the side. Now it's tilting round and down, and wherever I move this, it's going until, whoa, okay, it disappeared off the edge and it's gone far, far away. Next up, let's test GPT-5 inside Lovable, an AI vibe coding app. It's in early access until this Sunday. I'm actually teaching Lovable in my Ship Your App cohort number 2, and cohort 3 is open for registration right now and begins in September if you know exactly what you want to build and you need technical help to get all of the way there. You'll see it's now enabled. I want to see how it'll work with a database, so I'll make one called Health Stats. There we go. We can see this is now spinning up. Before I even start building my app, I'll connect it to that new database. And let's give a really simple prompt. I'm going to make it a little more complex by using this Python Garmin Connect library to connect to my Garmin watch. I'd like you to build an app that visualizes my most recent Garmin stats and allows me to chat to them using AI. This should be implemented using the Python Garmin Connect library and my backend database for storage and edge functions to use the AI functionality. Just to make sure it has everything it needs, this is the repo you need. And then I'll paste in the GitHub repo to Python Garmin Connect. Let's click go and see what happens. Okay, we can see it's already kicking into action and it's writing everything needed for Supabase first and foremost. Now, I've got to say GPT-5 is running pretty slow inside Lovable right now, but it is making a ton of files, I think way more than the default Lovable agent tends to make on its first run. So I'm pretty hopeful we'll get something good out of this. As you can see over here, it wants to build a ton of edge functions to ingest Garmin logs, chat with the logs using AI, and it's going to be using the repo which is correctly linked to. It's asking for my API keys. So now you can see I added the API keys. Now you can see over here in Supabase, it's created 2 tables for my daily activities and regular activities and all my stats to be stored. Plus over in Edge Functions, I've got the Garmin AI chat and the ability to ingest my Garmin stats. Refresh and look at this. I've got my Garmin stats pulled in and I can also synchronize them using this button that Lovable added using the GPT-5 integration. But can I chat with my stats? Tell me my most active day over the last 2 weeks and suggest a workout that I could do today to compound the effects of my brilliant exercise over the last 2 weeks. That's the prompt for my AI inside my new vibe-coded app. Let's ask and see if GPT-5 replies. And look at that. Your most active day over the last 2 weeks was August 2nd, 2025. I should consider a 30 to 45 minute walk or jog combined with bodyweight exercises, and this will help maintain my cardiovascular fitness. Aim for 30 minutes of activity to keep building on your momentum. So as you can see, GPT-5 built me something pretty basic inside Lovable. Am I super impressed with it? No, I think I prefer the previous version of the Lovable agent. And for those of you wondering, I started with 100 credits. I've got 91.5 left, meaning it cost me 8.5 credits to build that app. If you like what you see so far, throw a like and subscribe as I do videos like this weekly. So there we go, we've seen what it's like to be a hands-on builder with GPT-5 in Vibe Coding Tools, which brings me on nicely to some news in the world of AI automation this week. And there's been a big shakeup in terms of pricing plans for a tool called N8N, which is a powerful tool for technically minded people. Although it's been a bit of a double-edged sword. That's certainly my take. I've seen the good and the bad about this change. Now, kudos and credit where it's due for people who are self-hosting and doing simple automations, pushing people to the cloud plan to become paid users and removing limits on the number of executions you can do when building out complex workflows is super incredible and powerful. But here's the but, and this is a big but in my opinion, and that is that if you're a high-end power user, they've introduced a new business pricing plan, which basically means you have a kind of success tax, as I've heard it called across the internet. If you're a high-end business with lots of need for lots of automations running and powered by AI, it will run on your own hardware, but you'll pay for each execution over a certain limit, which to me feels like a cap on success and means the unlimited free model is potentially on shaky ground. Many of us have self-hosted N8N for years using the community edition, but now we question, is that free model sustainable forever? And I guess we have our answer in the new business plan model. But here's the thing. While most people are arguing over the cost of bricks, how many executions do I get on N8N versus how many tasks do I get on Zapier, I feel most are missing that the entire architecture of AI automation is fundamentally changing. And this is where I feel the real story actually is. N8N is perfecting the blueprint. They're doubling down on the fundamental architecture for tinkerers and builders to be able to build complex automations and workflows with 15 steps and total control. So if you enjoy the craft of building your own engine, then N8N is going to be the best workshop ever. But on the other side of the coin, Zapier is playing a different game entirely, and I've actually worked with them closely over the past year, building out tons of automations, workflows, and blueprints, but I feel that they are slowly making all of these things obsolete. Just look at what Zapier is pushing. Agents, which has a generous free plan, chatbots, and yes, my favorite topic, MCP, which also has a generous free plan. Zapier, I feel, is building a new layer of abstraction which fundamentally hides all of those steps. They're building the full self-driving car, if you like. You just punch in your destination and it takes you there. In the future, you'll no longer be thinking, okay, step 1, trigger. Step 2, filter. Step 3, API call. Instead, you just tell a Zapier agent, when a new customer pays on Stripe, onboard them and send them a welcome kit. Zapier asks you to connect your accounts using simple buttons. Your automation or workflow, if you like, is written under the hood, and the how becomes invisible. But this isn't about which tool is better. It's fundamentally two different visions of the future as I see it. N8N's vision is to empower the builder, the tweaker, the tinkerer, who enjoys driving a manual transmission car and wants to build the perfect machine. Zapier's vision, I feel, is to empower the delegator who just wants to punch in a destination and let the Tesla full self-driving car, if you like, take them there to the destination. So as we talk about GPT-5 and the future of AI this week, the real choice, I believe, becomes clear. Do you want a better tool to build with AI, or do you want a tool that is AI ready to take your instructions and do it all for you? Let me know in the comments down below which approach resonates with you more, being the builder or the delegator. Either way, as I see it, it's a fantastic time to be in this space. Now, the idea of being a delegator isn't just happening in the AI automation space, it's happening everywhere, including working with cloud infrastructure and servers, which you should probably use to host your own apps. A fascinating new concept really bubbled up this week on X with a new term called VibeOps. And it was Peter Levels who posted about it this week, the Dutch entrepreneur, who said, why don't you just start up a VPS, SSH into it, run these commands, and then run Claude code to start making hobby stuff and learning how a server works. He also added this quote, which I think is fantastic. It's basic engineering knowledge to be able to operate your own server. And I agree. So I'm going to attempt to follow Peter's plan and install Cursor CLI on a server in the cloud so I can do some vibe coding on my own $5 a month server. Let's go ahead. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is get your own VPS. These are cheap, like Peter mentions, $5 a month. And he mentions Hertzner and DigitalOcean. Both really good, and I've used both of them, but the one I use the most is Linode, and I've got an affiliate link down below. If you want to test it, costs you nothing more, and it helps the channel. Once you've signed in, it's going to ask you what you want to do, and don't get overwhelmed by this. All we're going to do is click Launch a VM. Oh, by the way, I still call this service Linode, which is what it's been known as for years, but it's now officially known as Akamai. So what you're doing here is essentially setting up a computer in the cloud that can run for you 24/7 for $5 a month. So first, we'll select a region. And as you can see, there are tons of different spaces we can set up. Just pick somewhere that's close to you. Next up, you'll want to choose your operating system. Now, we can argue over this till the cows come home, but personally, I like to use Debian 12. Then to get the cheapest server, we'll want to select Shared CPU and select the Nanode 1GB, which you'll see is amazing value, $5 monthly, so this is great for doing VibeOps. Next, we'll give our Linode enable. I'll just call it VibeOps. I'll give it a very strong password here, and then I'll also enable my SSH keys. This just allows me to log in with computers I've already authorized without needing a password, but we won't worry about that in this tutorial. Maybe I'll cover that in the future. Finally, we scroll down and leave pretty much everything else as is. No need to switch anything else on. We now just click Create Linode, and you'll see that's working, and it's now provisioning my Linode. It's given me an IP address that I can use to access my server in the cloud. All right, so if we follow Peter's tutorial, make a VPS, we've done that bit. The next step is to SSH into it, and he recommends something called Termius HQ. Now, I've got to admit here, I've been a user of Termius for absolute years and love it, so I don't need to be convinced to use this to access remote servers. Okay, now our Linode is running. That's good news. All we need to do is copy this SSH command right here and then fire up Termius, which works on Mac, Windows, and pretty much anything. I even use it to manage my servers on iOS. Now at the top here, we just paste in that SSH command and hit enter. Now we click continue and save. Then we click add and continue. And if you didn't create a public key, you'll need to enter the password you entered when you created the Linode and click continue and save. Boom, look at that. We're now logged into our remote server in the cloud, and this is where the fun starts. First, I'm going to make the text on screen a bit bigger so we can really see what's going on here. I'm going to run apt update to make sure my packages are up to date. Then I'll run Peter's command, hit Y to confirm. While that's happening, we'll look back at Peter's post. Now, once you've installed npm, he says to install Claude Code, but we're not going to do that. As you know, Cursor released the ability to run GPT-5 from the command line, so let's click to install CLI. And as you can see, all I've got to do is run this command on my server in the cloud. As you can see, that's just finished up. I'll hit Ctrl-L to clear my screen, paste in that Cursor command, hit enter. That was really easy. Now all we need to do is follow these steps. First, I'll copy and paste those commands. That's done. And then to get started, we just type in Cursor Agent. And look at this down here. Welcome to Cursor Agent. Press any key to sign in. Let's do it. Now it says if your browser didn't open, click the link to sign in. Obviously, as I'm on a server in the cloud, my browser didn't open, so we'll click that link. It'll ask me to confirm that I want to log into Cursor CLI. Login successful. Look at that. Okay, here we are. Cursor Agent Beta is now running on my server in the cloud. And you can even see down here my default model is indeed OpenAI GPT-5. So now I'll run through the rest of Peter's tutorial. I'm going to treat it like a fun hobby server, so no important stuff yet until I get the hang of things. We're going to do some unattended upgrades, fail to ban, just to secure my server. Let's get that running now. And by the way, all the commands that I use here, I'll post in the free section of my community down below. So go ahead, find that post, and do this yourself. First, I'll ask it to secure the server with basics like firewall and fail to ban. Now it's asking me if I want to run those commands on my server, which of course I do, and YOLO, so I'm going to auto-run all commands in the future. As you can see here, these commands are running in the background, and GPT-5 is thinking about next steps. Okay, it seems to be finishing up here and telling me it's checking the server's status to ensure persistence and health. Next up, I'm asking it to install Docker and Docker Compose. As you can see, Cursor Agent is abstracting all the commands and tech knowledge needed away from me as it's installing Docker and Compose using the commands that I otherwise would have had to scour the internet for. Okay, it's confirmed as done, installed Docker Engine, optional next steps. We can do all of this stuff if we want, but we'll just leave it as basically working. Now I'll pop in set up automatic security updates. And yes, it tells me it installed and configured unattended security updates. It tells me what it configured, what I need to verify, and any details about this. So that's great. We've now installed and secured our own VPS in the cloud. Next, we'll want our development environment. So I'm going to ask it to install Node.js, the latest version. The best thing about Cursor Agent is you can queue things. So while this is going, I'll ask it to also install Python. As you can see, it's already on it with Node.js, so I'll confirm this. All things that are needed to vibe code our first app on our VPS in the cloud. As you can see here, it's running all the commands needed to install Python now. And you now see it's confirmed that Python is installed, so now we can get to developing our app. Create a new directory called My App and then cd into it. Okay, it's created it and it's now changing into that directory. And it's done. So now we can give our first prompt to make an app. I'll say create a simple express.js hello world app, but being me with lots of rainbow animations and explosions just to make it fun. And this is our first prompt to vibe code an app on our VPS using VibeOps. And just as we'd expect in Cursor, it's actually creating the app structure, but this time it's doing it on my server. It's listing the files and directories, and it's thinking how it's going to make the app. First package is getting written, more code is getting written right in front of my very eyes on my server. Now it seems to be complete. I'm going to say make a Docker file for the app and create a Docker Compose and run it with the -D flag on port 3000. We'll hit enter. And essentially what this is telling to do is containerize the app, run it so I can access it on the web, and we'll see exactly what comes back. Already you can see it's scanning the project directory, it's writing Docker and Docker Compose. This is going to contain my app nicely and spin it up, so I should be able to type in the IP address and see it live on the web. All right, technically this is all set now. That means I should be able to access my app on the web. Let's try. All I should need to do is copy my server's IP address, paste it into my web browser, put :3000 on the end, and boom, look at that. That's a very nice GPT-5 VibeOps vibe coded hello world express and rainbow animations. Oh, make it explode. I like the fact there's a button here. Let's push that button. Oh, wow, 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 wow. That's epic. That is so cool. That's like the best hello world page I've ever seen and actually very addictive. So there you go. Now, obviously, I'm going to delete this server. It's never secure to expose your server's IP address publicly like I just have done, but you'd obviously then use your VibeOps to say, set me up an Nginx reverse proxy and a domain name to properly access this and put it behind something like Cloudflare for extra protection. Obviously, all of those extra steps I'll include in my free tutorial, which will be in my community, linked up down below. All right, finally this week, let's try out the free and open source model GPT-OSS that was released by OpenAI this week. It's been a big week for OpenAI. And I'm using Ollama Desktop, which I demonstrated in last week's AI update video. What is the meaning of life? That's what I can type in. As you can see, the model selected here is GPT-OSS 20 billion parameter model, and it's running on my Mac Studio just with an M1 chip. Let's see how fast or how slow this really is. And it's kicking into action. It's thinking through the meaning of life. And look at this. It's actually lightning fast on my Mac Studio M1 edition, which is old by all intents and purposes, but this has come out really fast and is giving a comprehensive reply. OpenAI not only released GPT-5 this week, but also a solid open source model. I'm pretty impressed. That is really insane. Now you'll see here, I can go into the model picker and pick other models. I could pick the 120 billion parameter model, but I doubt it would run on my Mac Studio. For the next prompt, let's paste in the same command I used inside my VPS, which is create a simple express.js hello world app with lots of rainbow animations and explosions. We'll let GPT-OSS go to work thinking over what exactly it's going to do to make this app, and it seems to be quite solid. It's already coming up with a suggestion. Is it going to write the code? Yes, not only is it writing project structure, this is incredible. It's giving all the files needed to make this Rainbow Explosions Hello World app. It's telling me what to do, how to run it. I'm quite excited. Let's let it type away and then copy and paste this and test it out. All right, so look at this. It has finished my Hello World code, and you'll see it's written out all the code, which is incredible. It's also told me here how to run the app. Now I copied and pasted all that code into a project inside Cursor. So all we need to do is pop open a terminal inside Cursor and run the commands that it said. Well, we're already in the correct directory, so we'll run npm install. That's done. And now we'll run npm start to start it up. And it seems to be working. And as you can see, it's linked here on localhost :3000, just as GPT-OSS has told me. Let's open. And here we have a very basic hello world with a boom button. Boom. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not bad. It kind of works. Now, is it as good as the GPT-5 vibe-coded VibeOps hello world? Probably not quite as good, but for a free and open source model from OpenAI, it's really not that bad. Thank you so much for watching this week. I really appreciate you being there, and there's been quite a lot to cover this week, so I hope you've managed to take it all in. Remember, those chapters are super important for getting around. Everything I've discussed is posted in my free community, so go ahead and join that if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much again, and YouTube is showing a video on your screen now you should watch next. Thanks.